Welcome back to the MartiniWorks Podcast, where we talk about automotive stuff, and sometimes I've been watching a lot of Deadliest Catch, like an unhealthy amount of Deadliest
That has
Catch.
nothing to do with cars, Dakota. What else?
Is it still like concurrent? Are they still releasing episodes?
Yes.
No shit.
Dude, and that's what I realized. They've been releasing episodes for like 20 years.
Yeah, that show's been going on for a long. Mike Rowe still hosting?
Yeah, he does the narration.
Damn.
I watched like Our World or like Life on Our Planet. It's like a documentary on Netflix, and the very first like 5 seconds is what's the guy's name? He has that like voice, that great documentary. Morgan Freeman. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this whole goddamn thing. It's got like dinosaurs and stuff in it.
How's Captain Sig doing?
Good.
He was my favorite.
He's my favorite too. Yeah. He's still trucking.
Why can't they make a car show last that long?
Deadliest Race.
You know what I mean?
That sounds bad. Speaking of which, you need to get this thing ready. And I think you did a lot of progress on it, but it still looks very much like there's a lot of progress to be made.
It looks like new wires.
Yeah,
there's some new wires.
Yeah. So if you are on the main MartiniWorks channel, hopefully you're subscribed over there. Please go over there and subscribe. We probably just dropped a video called How to Modify Your Car for the Track. And one of the things we talk about is how track cars have a lot of work done to them, and a lot of times you hardly ever see it because that's just how the world works. And so Corey Talaska and I spent 13 hours here on Saturday rewiring the car. We put an ECU master, plug and play, dash, all that sort of good stuff. We got it all hooked up. We did run power to it so that we could see the dash light up. That was the highlight of the 12 hours of work. And then we also rewired everything that burnt over yonder. So
yeah, that's probably the important part, huh?
Yeah, it's the good news is we got it all fixed. I have the new part actually right here.
Oh, you had to get an actual new part?
Yeah, because we thought we could just take this off and that it would be replaced. This is a VTEC solenoid part for the K24, and so we couldn't. So got this actually ordered on Saturday, and it showed up yesterday.
That's VTEC?
Very good.
This is one half of VTEC.
That's VTEC.
Yeah, the other half of VTEC's on the front of it.
Can I install that on my Supra?
You could try. If you guys are looking for car parts, ModularCartMartiniWorks.com. We have a whole bunch of new products out on the website, too. We have,
lots of tires.
Lots of
tires.
We heard a lot of folks talking about how they just wanted to get a couple more Why is Google calling me? I don't want that.
You might want that.
I might want that, actually. We talked about how we wanted to get more brands out there, because there are things that obviously our greatest partner in the world, Continental, does provide, but there are some things that Continental does not do, and one of them is slide sideways.
Mm-hmm. They're not really drifting tires.
They're not drift tires. So we actually added 2 drift tire brands, we would say, on the website. We've got Ironman, and we have Nexen on there, which is pretty rad. And we also found that we didn't really have a 200 treadwear, almost like track tire, something that's mostly only track. So we added Yokohama out there as well, which is pretty cool.
Exciting stuff.
Is there a tire manufacturer that makes a specific tire for drifting? Or is it all you guys just taking like the cheapest one that'll fucking go on?
It depends on like your setup, like, because in my case, right, like I don't need a lot of grip because I have very low horsepower. That's why I crank my fucking pressures up to like 60 pounds in the rear. But you know, for the guys out there running like really high horsepower, like they actually want more grip. Like they're running really low pressures, a really like grippy tire. That's why like Nitto has a bunch of like tires for like the guys that are running like high horsepower, things like that.
The sidewall flex is a big deal on drift tires as well as you climb into the upper horsepower range. So you'll talk about people wanting some of that sidewall flex, and I think Nitto does do a pretty good job with that. Yeah. But I don't think there's an actual dedicated drift tire.
No, I wouldn't say so.
Which leads to my next question. If there was, what would the tread pattern on a drift tire look like if one came out specifically just for drifting?
I don't know.
Like, do you want tread, right? Like if it's raining, you want some sipes and stuff, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question, because I feel like what it really comes down to is how well is it going to like heat cycle.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking of is the tread design would have to be capable
more like cooling
of
than
having a lot of flex, but having a lot of cooling.
Yeah.
Like instead of the sipes being for rain, almost being for like air.
Air dispersion.
That's super interesting. Now I want a tire manufacturer to come out with a tire just for.
That'd be interesting.
So if you took slicks and just went drifting, what would that be like?
I have no idea.
Like slicks with no tread?
Just like no tread. Yeah, just smooth race tires. Yeah.
And it was just solid rubber?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you would not have a whole lot of control because you still need some form of like tread flex to give you some direction.
But they should grip up, right? That's the whole point of those tires, right?
You see him rip around the F1 cars and swing them around every now and then.
True. Yeah. But they have a ton of fucking.
And they also they just did that. Like Mad Mike just did that with like his McLaren 4-rotor swap thing for Red Bull, and I saw it drifting around, like with a Formula One car.
Yeah.
And you can tell both of those cars are so sensitive in the front. Like the Formula One car is like drifting, and really it's just power sliding. He's like braking gas and just like. You give it this little thing and the whole car just wants to turn in. Like, it's not a drift car.
Okay, another follow-up question.
Okay.
We're at drift school today, I guess. I don't know shit about drifting, so I'll bug you guys about it. What's more important, your front tires or your rear tires?
I'd say they're both equally important for two different reasons. Obviously, you want your front tires to be able to guide the front of the car where it's supposed to go, but you want your rear tires to be able to hold up. So one of the biggest things that we've ran into and kind of like keep an eye out for stuff is like the delamination effect of like if it doesn't heat cycle well, and if you are running them all day, all of a sudden that the tread, that we know how they're built now and why they do that now. You know, when they're like that actual material is applied, it actually just like unglues itself essentially, and the whole fucking tread comes off, and it's really nasty. So obviously if something like that were to happen in the front, you're going to understeer really, really bad. You know, so you want to have like a good control in the front, but you also want your rears to like hold up with that heat cycling as well.
There's a big myth in drifting that you only should focus on your rears, especially with low horsepower cars, and that couldn't be further from the truth. There's so much value in understanding what your front tires are doing. And a lot of times people will keep them at 35 PSI because they want traction. But really, if you have a low horsepower car, pumping up your front tires to 45, 50, 55 pounds
can actually help.
Can help a ton too, because you need that front to also be loose enough so that the car can actually slide without creating so much oversteer, because that will happen if you air the rears up so bad. But still good enough to where you have that front control. So front tires, I always say keep an eye on them. Rear tires, they do heat up over time, so you don't need to keep them at 50 all day. When I started at Drift Mansion, I started with the fronts at like 50, and I think by the end of the day, I kept bringing it down to 45, 43, because it kept heating back up to 50. But pay attention to those front tires. Those front tires can help, especially low horsepower cars.
I thought was interesting is that Jackson, he's running ECSO2s on the front of his LS swap.
Oh, no shit.
S13. Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so like he's got like just straight up like high performance, you know, summer tires on the front that are just meant to,
because there's nothing worse than understeering when you drift.
Dude, it's scary.
It's scary. It's also like the grossest wet sock experience of your life is understeering while you're drifting, because you're going into a turn, you don't get that ass out far enough, or that front doesn't actually get dug in, and you just go forward, and it's just ugly. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's the worst thing in the world.
Right. Yeah, it just feels weird. It feels gross.
Some of the things with drifting, it's so funny because you start to forget some of like the basics as you get out there more and more and more. Is when we were at Drift Mansion, sometimes just because you get so excited, like forget to initiate the drift, because you just were like, I'm just gonna yank the e-brake.
Yeah, you just start like grabbing things and turning things and pushing and pulling things, and then you're like, I need to relax for a second and think about what I'm doing.
No, those are good questions. I think tires and drifting is a weird one. A lot of people, like when they talk about drift tires, it really comes down, how long do they last? They just need them to last as long as possible, because they're just shredding them sideways.
Yeah, because like I'd like to get a good amount of life out of mine. What I've found that people really, I mean, you could talk to any of these guys or gals, and they'll go. There's some people like Corey, for instance. He's so into like getting like the suspension set up like perfectly, and like the pressure set up good, and like all that kind of stuff. There is a science to it, and it's different for every car and different for your driving style. People drive the same cars completely different. So there's a lot that goes into it.
The day affect how long you're gonna last with tires? Like if it's super hot, 100 degrees and you're drifting versus a 50-degree day. Does that affect it at all?
I would imagine.
Yeah, temperatures are huge. The cheaper the tire, the easier it is for them to kind of blow up and do things they're not supposed to do. But drifting as a sport is a sport that is counter to what you're supposed to do with a car.
Like everything.
Everything. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's why it gets sometimes a little bit of shit from like the older community. And but with tires, yeah, I mean it's all temps, man. If it gets too hot and you're running a cheap tire, you know, obviously delamination is going to be more common.
Or chunking.
Or
Just
chunking. Like
you'll
even
just start losing chunks of
yeah, like the
tire.
Nexans
that,
have some chunking and stuff. And really you want to be able to run a few laps, go to a cool down pit, or go to a place that has a little, you know, hose and hose.
Yeah, it's
down
almost
your
like
tires.
you almost like heat treat them in a sense. Like you really do.
So what if you just ceramic coat them?
Oh my god! Then you need to be
we
sliding
try
all
that?
over the place.
That'd be kinda
Ceramic
rad.
coating tires.
Yeah,
That'd be
the
crazy.
whole thing, all of it.
Oh,
Like,
damn.
you get the bottle of ceramic coat, you just dump it on a tire.
We
Two
put it in a
rears.
vat.
Yeah.
I think from what I've heard from all the ceramic coating guys, you'll never have to buy a new set of tires in your life.
You'll never have to clean them again.
It's a 15-year warranty.
15-year warranty on the tire ceramic coating.
I can talk about wheels. I can talk about performance parts. I can talk about cars forever. I still don't understand the scientific concepts behind window tinting and ceramic coating. Every time I learn about it, there's some new chemical that's supposed to be
Yeah,
a billion-year
I
warranty.
can't tell if they're ever yanking my chain or actually giving me something beneficial. I never know, especially like, window tint. It's like, I'm always happy with the cheapest grade of tint, so I don't really see a need to go to their highest grade that costs like a fucking $1,000 to tint your car. That seems insane.
No,
but
there is one thing that upsold me, and it was worth it. Well, I walked in, it was at a Z-Bars. I was young. I must have been like 16, 17 years old. And they had the little thing where it had the Z-Bart logo and then the type of tint. And you put your hand underneath and there was a light. And then you press the button and it put the different tint on it. And it went from feeling hot to feeling not hot. That upsold me real
See, we need more of that kind of stuff.
I remember doing the same thing. It was like a slider.
Yeah.
It was like,
I've never
it would
seen
go. It was like they had like a little plate of like the cheap tint and then theirs, and you'd slide it over like a heat lamp almost. It was
I've
what
seen the oil ones where you spin the gear.
Oh, the Lucas oil gear.
Yeah, and then it like shows the cheap oil
You know-
versus the expensive oil.
You know how long I've put miles on those fucking things. I have put miles.
Well, how'd the oil do?
Honestly, pretty good.
Okay, all right.
Pretty good. I don't know how old that little display was, but I hooked a drill up to it one time.
Well, I mean, it's crazy that's how it would actually be.
Yeah.
I mean, going to temp site.
I think I broke it though.
Oh,
I broke at least one of them. I worked at multiple O'Reillys. There was not much to do at some points.
That's fair. I mean, what do you do? 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive?
Windshield wipers, yeah.
Windshield wipers are a lot.
Is it a V8?
yeah. If you didn't know,
360.
Gels worked at O'Reilly's, so he's our O'Reilly's expert.
He is. We actually have an account.
He can sing the song really good, but we don't.
Can
Put
you?
him on this
No,
one.
no.
Can you sing it?
It's in private.
I legally can't since I don't work
Oh,
there
that's
anymore.
right. The non-compete.
Yeah, non-compete.
Since all the big influencers started quitting O'Reilly's, it's been quiet. They've been quiet. No,
The downfall. of
Anyways,
O'Reilly.
I think O'Reilly's holding up better than the others, to be honest. I don't know. They seem like they got their shit together a little bit more. Every time I go into an AutoZone, the worker gives me the biggest fuck around. I'm pissed at AutoZone. Dude, AutoZone, you listening? Probably not, but if you are, do a fucking background check, screen these people, interview them. I don't know. I'm not joking, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that I had one of the AutoZone employees say, you know, guy, you should probably just do my job because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I think you could do it better. And he wasn't saying it in a sarcastic way. He was saying it in a help me, get me out of here, I don't know how to answer your question way. And, dude, it's always like that. What is going on?
Dude, I do notice a trend when summer rolls around and you get like the summer hires, dude. Auto parts stores get rough.
Yeah.
It gets really rough.
Yeah, it was. I had it at O'Reilly's. I see my problem with O'Reilly's is still they rubbed me the wrong way when I was a teenager, and I just can't get that chip off my
Why'd they
shoulder.
rub you the wrong way?
Because they were just dicks. They were just fucking
A guy
assholes.
was a dick.
Yeah, you know what? Which means all of them. They were just. It was just this experience where it was just super negative, and they were dicks about it. And then I left a review, and they sent me a whole bunch of goodies, and it still didn't fix it. Because then I went back, and it was the same dickhole. I tried it again. I was like, fine, I'm done. And then I went to Advance, and they were nice. And I was like, I'm going to be an Advance person. So I've been going to Advance forever.
Okay experiences at Advance.
I just, like, here's what I don't like. I don't like when you walk into a place, and, like, before you even started the conversation, that other person is looking at you like you owe them something. And when I go into auto parts stores, it's a 50-50 shot that whoever comes walking around aisle BH from the back is looking at me like this.
Alex, do you go in looking a little nervous?
No.
A little scared? Because I feel like I don't run into that issue when I
run
walk
into it.
I feel like Alex might walk in and he's like, hello?
The issue here we go. The issue I've been running into more is I'm gonna sound like a fucking old man, but it's like, dude, I go,
Boomer!
I know, boomer alert. Just fucking, here we go. I'm just gonna do it. I walk in and it's literally like the high school kids that like are getting their first like
here we go
part-time job like out of high school. Good for them. They're doing it. But you can just tell that they don't give a fuck about like maybe they care about like cars or anything, but like I don't know what is going on out there with the younger generation. But dude, like I walked into one of the stores the other day and I was going to pick up something for this. And I walked in and they're like, hey, how's it doing? I'm like, good. How you doing? And they're like, I'm good. And then from like one of the back, I was like, today fucking sucks. I'm like,
oh shit.
Oh damn. All right. He's like, yeah, I'm doing fucking awful, but no one asked me about it. I'm like,
oh my God.
Okay. And it's some like fucking like 17-year-old kid. And he's just going through it. He's having bad. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. But dude, if I did that when I was working, I get my fucking ass handed to me, you know?
I would say if you guys can let us know in the comments below or in a DM, but like I even put up a post about how we were hiring somebody for Meta Martini for our agency side of things, and it like the post did super well, got tons of comments, but like the responses I got were so weird. Like I had, here's what you do, here's what you got to be able to do, here's like a brief overview of a job description, nothing too crazy. Shoot me a message with your information so that we can reach out. Yep. And I had people in the comments that were like, nothing besides DM me.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
They wanted you to reach out to them.
They're like,
for a job.
I could maybe do it. Why don't you message me? Give me a call here. I don't know if I'd really be interested. If you got more information, please send it to me. I'm like, what the fuck?
It was I read some of those comments.
I had everything in there. I'm like, here you go. We had over 100 comments on that post. And I think I received 5 emails. So 5 people did it right. 95 people did it wrong.
Damn, do better.
And I had of the 5 people, like they had a resume, they had a cover letter, they had a portfolio. I'm not asking for it to be like a traditional, like, hey, send me some bullshit cover letter, but I am expecting
apply for the job.
I am expecting you to like, this is a good way to make an impression.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Or don't send me anything. Send me something funny or mail me something. And like, there have been times where people have gotten really creative to get our attention, especially in the past to get hired. And I love that. I love when people think outside the box. But when I remember it was like the second comment, it was like, DM me.
No,
fuck you.
You DM me.
It's crazy. I don't know. Circling back a little bit though, I don't know why going into automotive parts stores like O'Reilly's, AutoZone, Advance, they are a different vibe than going into any other store. Like it feels always a little like everyone's on edge. The customer's on edge. The people are on edge.
You know why? Because you're dealing with fucking cars. And dealing with fucking cars fucking sucks all the time.
Really
From working on them to learning about them to talking about them
to
doing. Selling the fucking parts because they have to deal with fucking
you exploding at them because you're already pissed off.
John boy who's like, why the fuck ain't my LS running right? You should be knowing everything. We're a goddamn parts store, fix my shit. And it's like, bro, I am fucking 18 years old and I did the O'Reilly's training portfolio that I just got sent.
There was
would you like NGK spark plugs? Like that's
there was one time when we were at Drift Mansion. I had to stop at O'Reilly's to get some brake fluid, and the guy and me were very close to like getting to that point, but we both wanted to not get to that point. And I'm like, I walk in, and the guy like just looks at me. He's like, "What can I get you?" And I'm like, "I'm looking for brake fluid and power steering fluid for a 1996 Infiniti Q45 and a 2003 Nissan 350Z because I had different parts. And he looks at me, he's like, different cars? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, for the same car? I'm like, yeah, it's a long story. And he's like, well, why do you need different parts for the car? I'm like,
bro,
it's got some different
two different cars.
I'm like, it's got some different components in the same car. And he's like, well, how do you know it'll work? I'm like,
oh my God.
I totally hear you. I know this is going to work. Can you please tell me where it is? And he looks at me and he's like, he's about to say something. And I'm about to respond. He's like, all right, DOT 3, it's 7590. It's an aisle 8.
Writes down the partner. I'll be back.
And he walks back, and I'm like, thank God, nobody, like, because it does. Like, I think it gets to a point where you walk into an auto parts store, it is a war of knowledge.
Yeah.
Who knows more? Everybody walks in thinking they're ready to demolish that 18-year-old kid that's behind the fucking computer, and then occasionally you get like the 35-year-old that's been like wrenching on LSs since they were 5, and they see like the 25-year-old walking in with the piece of shit fucking Subaru naturally aspirated thing, and like, I'm gonna wreck this fucking kid. I'm gonna make them feel terrible for the decision they just made.
Two things. One, the one store that I worked at, our manager was a lady, and seeing the shit that like she went through from customer, like I would see people like come in, like older like guys and stuff like that, like completely it just look at like I'm going to another computer
just because she's a lady.
She was like a certified like diesel tech, like she knew her shit and she was good, but like people were just like, nope, like I'm gonna go. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to a fucking.
I can say I can say confidently when it comes to the knowledge war that is auto parts stores and just like in general on the internet, girls trying to find that space to be able to do that is so hard. I feel so bad for them because like I'll see and obviously there's a whole slew of bullshit to argue about in that, but like there are girls that I know that they spend a lot of time, they build their car, they learn it, they know how it works, they spend time learning how it works, they're good at driving, they're good at this, they're good at that, and then they want to share that story on like what they learned or what they know or what, and it's like from the internet. Like guys just don't they just don't accept it. And it's like, dude, that sucks, you know? And I think that's a little bit of a bummer. So if you do know somebody that is a female that's trying to make something work, I know it might be a shocker to you, but hey, you know, a little like or like, hey, thanks for the knowledge sometimes helps them go a long way. That's all I got to say about that. I will say when I worked at the bank, it was the opposite.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Because I was a consumer lending officer for a period of time, but like you had to be able to like do teller work and do other work, and like men would come in. They don't want men working with their money. They want a woman.
That's crazy.
They want a girl.
That's
so bad. There'd be 3-4 of us at the front line at Moholt RCU. And it'd be like the same geezers that owned all of like the landlord properties on North Water Street. They'd come in, they'd go to Amanda, they go to Chelsea, and they would actively avoid me because they did not want a guy working with them. It was so weird.
Maybe you were just a little mean.
Bro, I was like 17. I didn't know how to be mean.
They didn't trust you with their money. You're 17.
Yeah,
you
that
can't
was
even
the
trust
reason.
yourself with your money. The last thing, while working at an auto parts store, you were talking about like, you know, just walking in and getting that vibe. Just know, as a former employee of an auto parts store for many years, when you roll up, your vehicle will say a lot of what I'm about to experience as the employee at this auto parts store.
Stereotyped immediately.
I would, 100%. Like I'd see.
What the?
Hey, turn that back on.
Come on, man.
That's our light.
All right, well, finish. We're coming up on the end.
Hold on.
We didn't pay our light bill, so we gotta.
The electricity got turned off.
Yeah.
Turn it on, dude. Okay, thank you. 100% tell the experience that I was about to have, depending on condition and just overall like look of a vehicle that would roll up. Like you knew that it was going to be a normal experience, or it was about to be one of the wildest experiences of your life.
If you worked with me at Royal Credit Union for 7 years before any of this happened, just know that I 100% did the same, and I would just go to the bathroom when like those people would come in that I didn't want to deal with. I'd just go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Those people?
Oh yeah. There's a type, bro.
What, like Ultima owners?
No.
Yeah, I need another loan.
There'd be these people that come in like with their check. They want their check cash because they got paid. And there's always this group that was like, I want fresh 20s. I want clean coins. And they had to be brand new, uncirculated like 20s.
But you guys would do it?
Yeah, we
That's
had to.
the problem.
Yeah, you kept going for their request.
So-
We got to stop that shit. We got to nip it in the butt.
So this was a while ago. It eventually got so bad where she would bring in, because she also had like these tenants, and so she had the ways that the money needed to be broken up. And finally, we had to tell her, not telling names, but be like, we can't do this. This is like a 45-minute process. We can't do it. So anyway, if you worked at RCU, I'm sorry. I did that all the time. That's why I went to corporate. With that being said, we're going to take a small break. If you guys have any horror stories on your AutoZone or Advance, or if your team AutoZone, Advance, or dare I say Napa,
Or O'Reilly.
let us know, or O'Reilly in the comment section below. But they're all the fucking same, it seems like.
Yeah, they are.
We do want to thank Continental for being our partner for the MartiniWorks podcast. Continental Tire makes a wide range of incredible tires. As we're kind of getting into July, everybody's like outside having fun, enjoying it. But once you start going into August, September, it's probably going to be time to go back to college, or you're starting to settle back down, going into fall and ultimately winter time, which means you're going to want to keep an eye out on what tires are going to be running. If you guys do live in a place where it's not snowing like a dog all the time, getting a good all-season tire is going to be really important. Now, if you do live in a place where there's a lot of snow, you're going to want to start thinking about those Viking Contact 7s. I hate to say it. I know it's early, but a lot of times people that buy them in August or September, you're going to be in a really strong place, because by the time October and November comes around, Continental is like, we don't make them anymore because they're out in the world, you know? So try to pick them up early. Viking Contact 7 are banging. DWS06 Plus is a banging tire. And if you want something a little bit more performance oriented, ECS02.
All day
long. With that being said, we'll be right back.
All right, boys, I want to get your genuine thoughts on one of the most controversial subjects in the aftermarket car community that seems there's no answers for. I want to know your true thoughts, not from a business standpoint, not from selling stuff, just what you actually think of what you would run on replica wheels. What do you think about reps?
Why'd you have to look at me and add all of those like little excuse cases?
He wants to know.
He wants to know my thoughts?
Yeah.
Dude.
He's asking you.
There's tiers to rep wheels. And I think when people blanket anything together, it's usually shit. Because there are reps that are good. There are reps that are shit.
That's a hot take.
There are real wheels that are good, and there's real wheels that are shit.
Hot take.
And there are things in the middle that nobody knows anything about, because somebody out there decided to get wheels manufactured in China and get them shipped over here, and they just got popular because they met a weird niche, and nobody knows where they came from, so it's all opinion-based. I will say this. If you're going to buy a set of wheels on design, you have an obligation to know more than the people around you so that you don't sound like a fucking twat waffle when you go to brag about buying a real wheel. That's the whole reason we made the wheel verifier tool on MartiniWorks.com, because there was so much misinformation out there on where a design came from, whether it was original and inspired by or a replica wheel design. And then on top of that, thinking that just because it was real, it was good, just because it was rep, it was shit. And that's not true either, which is why we had to have the construction filter on it too, because it's just confusing, man. Like, I would say budget build, track car. I'm running around. I'm going through tires. I'm going through wheels. I have a 500 horsepower grassroots competitive drift car. You would not see me dead on real wheels. I would run rep Enki T6Ss all fucking day. Because if that wheel worked for me and it was affordable and it was flow formed and it got the job done and it could take a beating, why would I waste my money on a real wheel? I'd rather spend that money on tires, intake, cooling, seats, something else that I could put towards that car versus trying to make something that's historically more of like a flashy piece do something it doesn't really need to do. Would I like to run around on Advan GTs? Fuck yeah. But people don't have that kind of money unless they're backed by like Ford. That's my answer.
So like, yeah, Enki I feel like is an easy one. So if you didn't know, Enki does have some like replica designs, just the way it is. Still a Japanese wheel manufacturer that makes some quality wheels. All right, they're in the OEM side of things. They do some aftermarket, very good wheels. We all know this, but they do have some designs that are just straight ripoffs of other designs. But what about a brand like Adhan or XXR or JNC? Would you throw that on and run it and not care?
JNC, no, I don't. I wouldn't touch JNC with a 20-foot pole. Actually, I would never even buy them. I don't think anybody should buy JNCs.
Damn.
It's just not a good. It's not a good brand. If anybody's worked with them too before, I mean, it is the definition of like if Temu made their own wheel brand. I'm not kidding.
JNC's Temu wheels.
They really are. Like they have no support. If you try to email them, it takes like 20 days. I remember.
Okay, but what about the quality of the wheel though?
Also shit. Yeah. So like. Spoiler alert, anybody can make aftermarket wheels if you have like 50 grand and you know who to contact on LinkedIn. That's like the truth. You can go out there and you can do that.
Or WhatsApp.
Or if you have like even less than that. I've seen people make, 3-piece wheel companies on $25,000 and just build this huge marketing thing and make really cheap 3-piece wheels and market them to the show crowd. And next thing you know, you're doing really well. GNC, no. What'd you say, Adhan?
Yeah.
Probably not. No, I don't think so. I've seen people run them on like 350, 370 drift cars, but probably not. I would say the floor for me for like a replica cheap wheel that is not, the whole brand is not that, but like Koenig Ampliform would probably be what I would sit at.
Ampliform?
Right? Heliogram.
Heliogram, yeah. Ampliform's original design.
Yeah, Koenig Ampliform. I would say, yeah, it's rotary forged, it's affordable, comes in good sizes, but yeah, it's a rep wheel design. I'd run that.
Yeah, I'd say Koenig is kind of in a similar sense to Enki, other than it's not made in Japan, but like they're very quality, very reputable. They're in the scene. They do motorsports. They have a ton of different designs. Some of them are replicas, some of them are similar, and some of them are unique. When you really get into it, like once we started looking into this whole thing with rep versus real wheels and making the filters, you kind of learn that every single brand has a replica design at some point.
You can only make so many 6-spoke wheels.
Where
you
they
can
start
only make
similar.
So many 7-spoke wheels, and it's like, you're gonna have your opinions on it either way. Basically, what we looked at is like, does it share 80% or more of the design? If it does, it's a replica wheel. Does that mean it's a bad thing? Not necessarily. But yeah, no, I agree with Alex on there. Like the brands like the JNCs of the world, the XXRs of the world, where they're just blatantly like just taking designs that work. Yeah, they're literally no shame. Like,
but that's the thing. People bucket all of it together, right? Like they would bucket a Koenig Ampliform in the same space as Heliogram. Sorry, Koenig Heliogram. They're putting a Koenig Heliogram in the same exact bucket as an Adhan like AFF 7. And those they shouldn't belong in the same bucket.
Because they're completely different.
Yeah. When you look towards a wheel and you're trying to figure out why people maybe have a little bit of an issue with a replica design, I think it's because they feel like that company's like duping them. It's like they're taking something from a hard worker and they're giving it to somebody, but not in the way that you should. And I agree with that. I think you have a right to be upset if you don't, really fuck with that. That's good. You have a principle on it. But that doesn't mean that all of it is that way. Somebody coming up like Koenig with a design like that could very much be catering to a market that the Kiwami just simply does not. But from a design perspective, it looks damn near close.
Yeah. It's very similar.
Jules, what are your thoughts on it?
I think, obviously they have their time and place. I mean, there are decent brands out there that make replica wheels. We just talked about that a lot. But yeah, it just comes down to what that brand is. I think JNC is one that like stands out like super strong in my mind as something that I would never even not even in the realm of options of like something that I would like recommend or like even think about going with on any of my cars or recommend for your cars. It's just because like they are just so it is just a cash grab. It's like that wheel sells really well. It's really popular. It's been around for a long time. We're going to make it $500 and we're going to put it in some flashy colors and we're going to dual drill it so it can fit fucking everything. And it's going to be super cheap. And it's like, I don't like it. I don't like that.
We should be very transparent about this. Our decision to make the wheel verifier tool upset a lot of our wheel suppliers and also made our wheel suppliers very nervous. This was not something that we did in like conjunction with them. This is something that we did very much like independently, where we asked them if they wanted to give us the information. Most of them just never responded to our emails, and then we just chose to do it ourselves. So when we're telling you this stuff, we know that we're kind of putting ourselves on a line of like, we talk about the Koenig. I know Koenig wasn't necessarily the happiest about us talking like this about some of their designs. We love Koenig. Yeah. We sell a lot of their Koenig wheels.
Fucking run Koenig.
We run Koenig.
I run that wheel specifically.
Yeah, but that doesn't, for us, we don't want there to be a barrier between the information that we know and you know as a potential like consumer. We want you that when you're modifying your car, that you come to us because you don't think we're trying to pull a fast one over you, which did scare some of those brands. And it should also be clear that to get the title of real, it is a lot of work. Yeah. It's not just like having the first design. It's being considered the first of its kind. It's having a legacy. It's having a heritage. It's having history in motorsport. Your wheel has gone through the shit for a long time to be considered an original wheel. And that's why the Advan GTs, the TE37s, the BBS LMs, they carry that because they've made the wheel for 20 plus years. They still support it. Yeah. They prove themselves time and time again, and they kind of deserve to be on that pedestal that's a little bit above everybody else,
Yeah, I think,
what are your thoughts?
Personally, I'm at like about to be 30 here next couple of days.
Old as shit.
And I think I'm at the point where it's like I would no longer want to run a replica wheel on my car, just from a standpoint of like I have the ability to get a real wheel, so why wouldn't I just get the real design? However, I get why people have replicas, and if I meet an 18-year-old kid at a car show and he has fucking JNCs or Oddhans on his car, I'm not gonna like tear him apart or anything like that. Maybe if we were like giving an interview and I was giving him some shit, I'd do it for fun, but like I wouldn't care. I don't feel like that kid needs to be talked down on. I'm not at that point, but I take pride now in like selecting which wheels I'm going to go with. And maybe for a daily driver or something, I'd be a little more lenient on that. Like I would totally run like a heliogram or something on that. But like on my actual like car, like the Supra, I'm not going to get a set of Oddhans or XXRs or anything like that. I would absolutely 100% not do that because I feel like I'm educated enough that I know enough to make the decision on the set of wheels that I want to get. And that's part of the reason I went with the TE37s. It's a very stereotypical choice because they're really fucking good wheels. They're an iconic wheel in the industry, and I wanted something like that because I never had the ability to get something like that. So that's why I think like I get the spots that replicas take up in the automotive industry and why people run them, because not everyone can afford a $4,000 set of wheels. So there has to be a cheaper option. I just think it's shitty that they have to take the design. Like they have to copy the design. Why can you not just put a little twist, just your own little, markings on it and engravings? Because like it's okay to be inspired. I think everyone's creative work is inspired by stuff.
And sometimes it's so good the original has to come back. Like Kansei did such a good job, and Chris and that team, with releasing the wheel designs that they did and the sizes that they did, that they've literally made these old companies come back from the dead to like make their wheel again, and one of the biggest things I'll always say is anytime you modify your car, your hope should always be that it makes you fall in love with the car more. And if falling in love with the car more is a function thing or if it's an aesthetic thing, that's entirely up to you. We want you to build your car for a car show just as much as we want you to build your car to drive it. But if you start developing an ego over the things that you buy, I think you do have an obligation to know more then, like objectively know more as to why you would choose that thing. Like for instance, the Volk TE37, iconic wheel, super cool. For me personally, I think it's a little played out. I think it's used. It's used in everything. It's the safe bet for anyone that wants to pick up like real wheels. But at the same time, if you ask some people that are in the motorsport realm, they'll say that they don't like them because when they do take any sort of side impact, they don't bend, they shatter. They're really strong wheels, but if they have that lateral force applied to them a lot of times, they shatter. Does that mean the TE37 is good or bad? It would depend on who you ask. The person that had theirs shatter, they probably think it's a piece of shit. But for the people that have never had an issue with them ever, they probably think they're the best thing in the world. It all comes down to you. People who blatantly steal a design and then try to pretend that they didn't, those are the wheel brands I think I have the biggest issue with.
That shit irks me when it's like, it's not a rep. Yes, it is. Like, dude, it's
very clearly.
You can see, you can tell when a design is copied and when it's not. And dude, there's some manufacturers, I would say probably the one I can think, I know we keep bringing up, but JNC is one of them that like, they will copy everything to a T. Like, exactly. I've even seen on their webpage before, I don't know if this is still like this, but back in the day, they just take the image of the real wheel and put it on their website. That's the product image they use to sell their rep.
They had a actual BBS wheel image on their website for the longest time.
Yeah, it's insane. Like that is just shame. Yeah. That is fucking ridiculous. You are not even slightly trying at that point. That's disgusting. I can't support that at all.
Yeah, there's like an ethical issue to it. I was just looking it up because like Autohan has the AH08, which reminds me of a story one time that I heard unofficially, not through anybody that you can trace this back to, where there was Autohan came out with the AH07 and AH08, I believe it was, which were their Cosmos wheels.
Yeah, they're straight
up Cosmos wheels. And the owner
down to the font.
Yeah, the owner of Cosmos Racing and the marketing manager essentially reached out to Autohan, who knew the owner, and said like, dude,
what the hell?
Like, what are you doing, man? Like, that's literally our wheel. And the owner pretty much replied, yep, well, business is business.
Yep.
Sorry.
Dude, there's no shame.
The fact that they put like...
And that's the thing. In the wheel game, guys, behind the scenes, it is brutal. It is so cutthroat. The tier 4 companies, like the cheaper tier 4 companies that are just trying to make affordable wheels without any regard to anything else, the moment they see a design do well, they take it.
Yep, 100%.
In minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And next
we got to do that.
Yeah.
Well, it's fucking
and
easy.
do it in neochrome and bright blue.
Make it the brightest colors possible.
And lime green.
Yeah, so that it slaps.
And maybe dual drill it.
And 100% dual drill it so we don't have to buy more molds.
Yeah, dude, the whole mold conversation is a whole different world. All that matters is if you guys have, this is a lot of information. It's like if you have questions on this, or maybe like you're hesitant between a couple brands, just ask us.
Yeah, our whole thing is we just want to educate, so you know what you're getting. You know, if you go to our website and you see, okay, this wheel is a replica of this wheel, here's the real wheel, you can then make that decision. Do I want to save up extra couple months here and get the real wheel, or am I okay? Is it going on my daily? You know, it's going to do what I need to. I'm not sending it into a wall at 150 miles an hour, and I really just want to have wheels for this season.
Yeah.
Send it. You know, we all are. I had replica wheels when I started out because I didn't know any different.
Pretty sure I still do somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm cars.
It's not the end of the world because everyone learns at a different pace. But I think Alex makes a good point. Like when you get a set, though, you should at least know about them. If you know their reps and you got it, who cares? You knew it going into it. The other people that are on the no list, naughty can't do, is people that get like the JNC or Autohan reps and then put the BBS center caps in them, or they take Avid ones and put Volk T37 stickers.
They get the decals,
on it. That is, you're gross. That's yucky. I don't like that, and I will make fun of you in person, and I will probably say some mean things because that's stupid.
If I catch you trying to brand your rep wheels as real wheels, that's a whole nother level.
That's when I get why those internet trolls get upset. That's why they're shitty.
Just don't cheat. You know, don't cheat. Like, I don't think I've ever, especially when you do a build well, like even if the build is on, you know, maybe not like name brand parts, but like it's done good. Like that always is going to go so much further for me than seeing somebody who dumped all of their money into a set of wheels and then like literally went cheap shit on everything else because they couldn't afford it. It's like you're building a car. You're not building wheels. Mm-hmm. So build the whole car and let the wheels be a part of that. Don't let the wheels be all of that. You know, and there's some really cool options out there. There are affordable real wheels. The Enkei RPF 1 is like the first one I always, you know, look to on the wall. There's really good inspired by designs that I think look really sick. Kansei has a bunch of them. I think they look absolutely incredible. Chris crushed it with like the sizing and the concavity and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah,
real quick, I want to go into that because Kansei is such a conundrum in this whole conversation. Yeah. It's so weird where to put it, and I always knew it, but it put it into perspective when we started doing the real versus rep filter. They're in such a weird spot because what Kansei did is they took original Japanese designs and then slightly tweaked them and then modernized them. But a lot of the designs were wheels that are discontinued and no longer offered and you cannot get, or off of an OEM wheel that comes in super shit sizes because it's an OEM wheel, so it's narrow as hell and going to look like trash. So when you take something like that, make a design slightly alter it just a little bit. Some of them are very similar. Like I'd say the KMP is very similar to the Regomaster, but it's a little bit different. And then offer it in new sizes, and now it's available. Ethically,
it's an inspired by design.
It's an inspired by design, but I don't know how.
Yeah, it's hard. That's why
I don't mind it personally. I don't mind it.
Yeah,
I think that's a good way to keep those options open. Otherwise, your only other option, like say like Desmond never started making Regomasters again, and it somehow like naturally like got popular again. Like you're gonna be paying so much fucking money for those wheels. Like I look at like the Blitz 03 for instance.
Silly.
It's like, my
that shit's
God,
insane.
My God.
Yeah. Never own a set.
You don't need it shouldn't be like wheels don't need to be gate kept, I guess. The reason I think, Kansei and me personally, like I have a really strong respect for Kansei because of what they do outside of just the wheel brand. Mm-hmm. The reason that I'm so comfortable with talking about them and putting them in that inspired by category where they are super close, where in a couple of years they will be classified as a real wheel because they meet all of those things. The previous isn't made anymore. The wheel has its own design elements. The wheel is also used in motorsport. It's commonly considered the first of its kind. It's getting to that title. But Chris and the team at Kansei, they're so invested in so much motorsport, and they're out there and they're active and they're helping and they're growing. They're fostering more. They're fostering more in motorsport, and I think a lot should be accounted to that, because if they didn't do that, I would lean more towards the other side sometimes. There's only so many brands on that wall that really kind of like walk the walk and talk the talk. They make wheels and they're involved in motorsport. Koenig does it. Stage Wheels does it. Kansei does it. These brands that choose to go out there and actively know that they're spending money to give back to something, to me, that's a huge testament of value to the brand.
Yeah, you'll see those companies, out there and doing shit with their wheels. And that's a big thing, too, that's on that filter is the construction, looking how the wheel is made. Any of those websites, you can go and check out exactly how the wheel is made, and they stand behind that, and they have tried and true processes. So I think that's a huge portion of why you're picking up a wheel, too. You should be looking at the construction of it and deciding, is it going to suit for what I need it to do?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You guys let us know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And of course, if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, you can head on over to MartiniWorks.com. For our partners that are with us, the brands that we talk about, both on the good and maybe more critical, we still appreciate you and we're thankful that we have the partnership. Our goal is to just create a transparent, open place, no bullshit, so that our people feel really comfortable with it. So thank you for trusting us with talking about your brand. We're going to take a small break, but not before talking about our next partner,
Fortune Auto.
Good jingle.
Yeah. We'll get there someday, maybe. I don't know. Fortune Auto is another sponsor of the MartiniWorks podcast, and we couldn't be more happy to have them on board as well. They've been around since pretty much the beginning of this whole endeavor, and we've even gotten to go down there, got to go to their place down in Virginia there, get the whole inside look and scoop on what goes into a set of Fortune Auto coilovers. And honestly, coming from, what I knew about them going into it, it just added so much more of a respect for that brand and the product that they produce, seeing how the sausage was made, in a sense. Just going down there and just seeing how like they did everything and what goes into every single set of coilovers that goes out that door is absolutely incredible. And you should, rest assured knowing that you are getting a quality product with that. You are getting something that has been looked over meticulously and built to a certain spec that you want or that they recommend. So yeah, they've had some fantastic options. We run them on all of our cars, and we are more than happy to have them as a sponsor of the MartiniWorks podcast. And if you want to check them out, you can check them out over at MartiniWorks.com.
So we were just talking about tires, and I remember
chunking.
Yeah, we were talking about chunking. So this is essentially what happens. This is on a Nexen SU1, right? And this can usually come from temperature, or if you hit like a divot or like some sort of...
Explain for those just listening.
Oh, if you're just listening, what I'm looking at, I'm holding on to our Stage Monroe Nexen SU1s that were on the Nissan Gloria when we were at Little Talladega, or Drift Mansion. And we were talking a little bit about like how tires behave specifically with drifting over time, and how temperature is really the biggest culprit of tire failure in drifting. And so if you look, or if you're listening, I'm pointing to a specific tread chunk where you can actually see that the temperature and the friction just started to peel off the tread itself in like pretty large segments.
Yeah, it's weird. It looks like something came and took a bite out of your tire.
Yeah, and so if you guys are ever wondering, like, really what destroys a drift tire, temperature, number one, and then usually, like, the surface. US Air, for instance, has a very, very porous surface. It's a go-kart track, and so getting out there and actually using tire, I mean, it
eats them.
It literally eats them. It's almost bad. So if you guys are trying to plan, how many tires should you bring to an event, what type of tire you should bring, a lot of times I always say, learn what the track is like. If the track's got a smooth surface, you can usually bring less tires. I thought that Drift Mansion was going to be a really rough pavement because rougher is usually a little cheaper to like lay down.
It's a mansion, dude.
Well, but you never know. You never know.
They're rich down in Missouri.
And it was actually a very smooth, very high quality asphalt. And so I ended up only going through like 4 tires instead of the 10 that I thought. So here, can you hold on this? I'm gonna put this back.
Sure.
Was US Air when it was first made? Like, was it just a go-kart track? Like, was that what the point of the track was when it?
I don't know.
Because I'm just curious. That's such an oddball choice for a drift track to have like the most coarse fucking pavement that you can have.
Motorcycle track first.
Motorcycle track.
Yeah, it was go-kart motorcycle first.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then I think over time it just kind of opened itself up to other stuff.
And some of the go-karts started sliding around. They're like, wait a minute.
Mike,
we call this the roller coaster of life.
Mike Morgan told me an experience that he had. He's the manager of the track that I want to see to this day because I haven't seen it yet. So they still do a bunch of go-kart racing out there, and he's like, yeah, they'll do a full course 20-lap track, like competitive track racing, and it's so fun to watch go-karts because
awesome.
For 17 of the 20 laps, everybody's doing the exact same thing, and they're all filed into each other because they want the slipstream. They don't want any dirty air. They don't want to be outside of anything. And then the last 3 laps, it's just straight chaos because everybody's trying to pass. Everybody's dive bombing corners. And he goes, it literally looks like you're going from just like a really nice, calm game of Snake into a free-for-all lone wolf, like carts going off track, flying all over the place to try and get first.
I don't know about that seems to be a thing because I don't know if you guys seen that video. There was like the speed skating. They did like the same thing. It's like everyone's just kind of like, Mosey's on for like the first like 5 or like so laps, and then like the last 2 they go fucking all out, and they just kind of hang together. Well, there was like this one skater. She was like, "Fuck that." And she fucking launched, and she like laughed at him, and then she's in the back, and like everyone just forgot that she was like a whole lap ahead. And by the time they took off, she was like, "All right, I won already." Like, I would do that in the go-kart. I'd be like, "Fuck that, you guys! I'm gonna fucking drive ahead while everyone's doing 10 miles an hour."
You gotta be fast to be able to make that work, though.
Yeah.
You gotta be way fast.
Because you got one other person to like join in. You're like, shit.
Yep.
I'd try it though. See what happens.
I would pay to see you speed skating.
Anytime I've done a
fast
go-kart
on
track, I promise you I was going balls to the wall the whole time. I wasn't thinking about no fucking slipstream. I was fucking practically about to die.
Speaking of practically almost dying and also going slow and going fast, Goodwood Festival of Speed. Is it Goodwood or Goodwill?
It's Goodwood.
Goodwood Festival of Speed.
Goodwill Festival of Speed's when you speed run your local show.
This year was pretty wild. I don't know if you guys had a chance to catch some of the highlight clips. I did, and the very first clip I saw was BMW doing the most boring goddamn introduction of the M5 I'd ever seen before my entire. That brand has such cool stuff, and it just is fucking it up sometimes. I don't get it. I don't know who's in charge of their marketing, but they need to get more. Whoever runs their TikTok needs to run their event activation. Like that transition needs to happen.
Are you talking about like when they brought like out the 5 series of like every generation, and then all the comments were like, damn, I can't believe the asphalt actually held up that elephant of a fucking car.
It's like, it's just
dude, you put like
boring,
put the first generation like M5 next to the new. It is a shocking difference.
It's just
shocking difference.
It's like new cars are designed by a computer instead of with the soul.
So what are you talking about though? What is this event?
So it's pretty much an annual event. I don't know how to explain it professionally. It's where
Hey, don't be
everybody comes
professional.
together that likes cool cars, unique cars, antique cars, racing cars, and they race them up a very small, tiny track.
Oh,
And that's the whole thing.
that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't know what
a
this
less
is. So-
aggressive Pikes Peak.
Yeah, so essentially,
With more money.
They'll bring out like big like manufacturers and stuff will bring out like a very special edition of this car. They have cars that have been running this thing for years, like the Beast. I
Yep.
think it's called like the giant 4-cylinder like race car from like
Mister?
the fucking like 1910s or 1920s. They'll bring out like these really really rare and like exotic and crazy builds and
tradition.
cars, and they'll just fucking balls out, just fucking run this course. Sometimes it works really cool and really well, and it's really cool. And sometimes you have a all electric Lotus that just bites a fucking barrier.
Yeah,
right
people
away.
don't know that there's a lot of crashes that happen at this event because a lot of time, at least they're saying this year, the pavement must have been different or it wasn't as prepped as much because there's a lot of accidents this year. Lots of crashes, particularly right at the beginning of the track, which was wild. I saw actually Subaru or a team brought out a Subaru that absolutely ate that course up. It was like this
Oh, was that
wide
the
body,
midnight?
all black.
Ah,
yeah.
I've been seeing that fucking everywhere. That
Top
midnight-
comment, why is Subaru not doing more of this? Because it
Right.
was such a cool run. Like that thing was ripping through
Did
that.
look dope, and that's saying a lot because the new generation of WRX is ugly, but that thing did look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked absolutely sick. I loved what BMW did wrong. I hate to be that guy. It's just
really
so
hating.
boring. It was so
Leave BMW alone.
You know what would have made it an M5
What?
debut?
What?
All the cars going up, same as before, nice and slow, very classy, clean, simple. But then in the back, the new M5 CS is just roasting tire. Same speed, but just
The entire
roasting
time.
tire.
That
just
would've
through
been
the main
sick.
straight. That would be the only. That would make it an M5 commercial.
That's not
that,
BMW though.
But that. But no. Why would you?
That's a Dodge commercial.
Why would you do that? But that's like the M5 is a boisterous.
You're right. 1,000%.
massive
You're right,
thing.
but that's not their brand.
Dude,
that's not
they
who
look-
they are.
Bro, you say that, and then it's just like I don't know, man. It was just not fun. What Mercedes
it.
did? Did you see the Mercedes
see the
lineup?
Mercedes.
So Mercedes also did something very similar, just like a nice, slow, like parade almost through. But they fucking did it right. They had this old school Mercedes like carrier van that was hauling a Mercedes-Benz race car, and then they had the SLR, the all of the old like gull wings, the racing versions, all of these super beautiful Mercedes-Benz, and I was like, that's doing it right. Because the difference was it felt like a presentation.
Yeah.
Like when BMW did it, it felt like your substitute teacher was leaving and your normal teacher came back. It was just depressing.
Damn.
Like that's how it felt.
No, it was super.
I heard
cool.
you guys were naughty.
They left some notes. You specifically. Why have I had that conversation? Shit. That's traumatized. No, what I thought was really cool though, and about that, it's like you get to see like some of these cars that are typically just sitting in like museums and like they just run some oil through them just to keep them alive, and maybe start them up once a year, and they got 10 miles on them, and it's like things from just old vintage cars to like one-off like super luxury like exotic cars, and they're just fucking ripping them through this. Like you just never see that, so I think that's I really like it for that.
There's a couple of new cars that made very, very, very close calls because the actual track is insanely narrow. It's very narrow, and then it's straight grass.
Yeah, it's like a road
on both sides.
It's like a country like road. It feels like
I gotta
So
look
if
this up.
so if you drop tire, you're pretty much going straight because all of these cars, like you talk about, like the tires are probably barely touched, and even if they are prepped, they're probably brand new, so they still got oil on them and stuff like that. So there was a lot of very close calls, particularly in that first turn. Mad Mike was there; he was ripping it up. That was cool.
I'd love to go there. It looks like a really, really cool event. That's a bucket list item for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, we can bring the
Bring Blard car.
Blard car and just rip it.
I personally would pay to see Blard car go up that hill.
Okay.
Or
But you
track.
can't come out
You
in
think
some
Blard
little
car can't go
boring
up a hill?
parade.
Yeah,
we gotta
don't
make
do-
like a WWE entrance for Blard car.
Yeah, because like here's the thing. First thing on our cars, the BMW M2 is Motor Trend's 2024 Performance Vehicle of the Year. It's like, cool car. Do cool things with it.
Yeah, I
Don't be
agree.
boring.
I agree.
Don't be boring.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying if you look at all of BMW's branding, it's always pretty
It adds up.
calm. But the cars fucking rip.
Yes.
Holy
Cars
shit.
speak for themselves.
They're trying to be distinguished.
I think
Yeah, they pinky out.
Oh, here's a good. I have a good question for you guys.
Yeah, let me hear it.
Question then.
You're the CEO of General Motors. Are you reviving Pontiac or Saab?
Pontiac.
Why?
I feel like Pontiac.
G8, GXP.
Yeah, they're more legendary cars in the Pontiac
I would
lineup.
say Pontiac also because I don't know anything about Saab. I know nothing about Saab. Next.
Saab made Subaru or had a Subaru
They
for
had-
a period of
yeah.
time
Yeah.
called the Saburu.
The Subaru. Yeah.
The Arrow.
There was like a WRX wagon, right? But in Saab
It was like a
form.
different, yeah.
Let's see what else is going on out there.
Jim had it in the office.
You're right. You're right.
What?
Jim from The Office, he had one.
They drove it.
What do you guys think about the Toyota MRS, the ugly one?
I think that
You got
a lot of
picture of
people are. It's the MR2 Spider, like the third gen.
Yeah, but you can't call it the third gen
Sorry.
MR2 because
Sorry.
Toyota MR2 enthusiasts will get upset with you. It's an MRS, and
Yeah.
trust me, I made
The
one
Toyota
video
Misses?
on it. Yeah,
The misses. Yeah, I think
Looks like a Misses.
I think a lot of people hated it when it first came out, and it's getting a newfound love for it. It's kind of like the prequel Star Wars movies.
I would like to drive
Ooh.
it before I make a big claim about it. I think it looks ugly.
No, this is the internet.
Right.
You're supposed to make just one direct claim with no foundational knowledge on it, and then just let the world eat.
Yep.
Best car ever made.
Damn. They're here first.
Toyota gang.
Which resurrected model name was actually a good car?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I got mine.
So
I have
it's got to be a car that's like
That came back.
Yeah, it came back. So it ended production for a little bit and then came back.
Yep.
Supra.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
Not the Dodge Dart.
Super fans.
No. Nice.
Super fans kicking their little chair like this. It's
Super
not
fans
a
are they're pissed I said that. But car fans agree.
Man,
I will say in about 2 weeks I'm probably about to get my ass handed to me by a group of those cars in Time Attack. So yeah.
Yeah. Man, I don't because that feeling there's not.
There is. It's just you forget that they're.
Ford GT.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
That is the coolest car I've ever seen in person in my life. I know it sounds so weird to say, but when you look at a Ford GT, a new one, there's this angle where you can look almost all the way through the front of the car, all the way to the back. Like it's this angled look.
Yeah, that like
And-
side vent.
Yeah, and it's you start to realize that you're not in a car, you're in a cockpit. And it's such a
car's
cool
insane.
thing to look at.
Yeah, that thing is super neat. I agree. That's a good one.
Didn't who got in trouble for that? They like
John Cena.
It was John Cena. Okay, I was
You
gonna say
sold it
John
right
Cena.
away. And
Yeah,
you're supposed to keep
yeah.
it.
No,
for
you
the-
can't buy
you got
another one.
sued or something.
They're
by
like, no
Ford.
more.
Well, like that's how Ford GT, and they are very particular about that because they don't make a lot of them. They're like, you're not going to sell this and resell it. You're going to keep it and you're going to like it. And they're like,
I thought the new Countach was really cool.
It died off so quick. I forgot that there was a new.
Yeah, I think it's because they only made like so many of them. It's just a
Was
it's
it
a
for, like, a
supercar
year or
thing.
something?
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like they'll do it whatever. But I thought like the
Yeah,
pictures and stuff I seen, I was like, I see it. It looks good. I like that. That makes sense. I think it was worthy of the name.
Yeah, I agree.
this is fun. Joyriding car dealer totals $97,000 Camaro that was brought in for repairs.
I thought you were about to say that they totaled like 97 cars. I'm like, how did he get away with that for so long?
That's my biggest pet peeve. Like, you can't see how someone treats your car when you bring it in, and it's
So apparently-
trust.
Dealers are legally allowed and can turn off any sort of cameras that are inside the car.
They
That
legally
makes no
can?
sense.
They legally can.
That
That's
makes no
insane.
sense.
So if they see it, they'll turn it off. But apparently, they totaled a 2018 Chevy Camaro ZL 1E Hendrick Edition that had 989 miles on the clock.
Oh shit,
Could you believe
Fucking
that?
cooked.
dude! Imagine getting that call.
Nope.
The 6.2-liter supercharged V8 pushed the Camaro to nearly 90 miles an hour when it left the center lane of the interstate and crashed into a guardrail.
Dumbass.
Christ.
They probably thought they were going fast enough and just smashed the throttle.
Yep.
And it just
Didn't realize that there was a whole lot more torque
Stupid.
available.
It's one thing to ruin your own shit, but to ruin someone else's, you're just a dickhead.
It happens a lot from what I hear. I know a lot of, like, I've heard horror stories on the internet, people that work at, like, dealerships, detailers specifically, like, they'll be like, yeah, dude, service people will go out in cars all the time. They'll take them to lunch. They'll take them out. They'll go grab stuff with them because they're checking it out. And, like, they just take your car. And that scares me. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like that at all. Do you have any horror stories from dealerships or not so much?
I'm trying to. I avoid them like the plague. And yeah, my only horror one is they don't let me fucking look at the car I want to buy.
And they put nails in your tires.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're right, Giles. Right when I got my Supra, I got it back and I got an email about my fucking new Toyota ownership. Congratulations. Did you know you have 1 year and 4 months left of Toyota Care?
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell is that? And I looked, I'm like, free oil changes for the next year? Hell yeah. So I call up dealership. I'm like, yo, just got this car from Texas, bring it back. I need to get an oil change on it. They're like, yep. So I bring it there and they were like,
and you had the car here for a while.
yeah, I got it back. It was a couple weeks after having it, and I bring it to get an oil change. And first of all, only one person is allowed to work on the Supra at the Toyota dealership. They have to have a Supra tech, and that's not because it's a fancy car. It's because it's a fucking BMW, and I guarantee that one guy had to do a teaching or some shit. Anyways, I get the car back, and I'm driving. I notice, like, my TPMS light comes on and shit, and I get back, and I look, and there's a nail in my fucking tire. And I realize there's a nail in the other tire. I had fucking 2 nails in my rear tires from the time I went from the dealership to home. And like right away when I got it, the tires are low. So I call them and they're like, no, that wasn't us. No. I was like, well, did you realize that the tires are low? Because when I brought it in, they weren't low. I didn't have any lights. I just drove it from Texas. I've been driving it to work and back. Everything's been fine. And, yeah, so nothing came of that because I had no proof. Yeah, they weren't willing to do it. The nails were in spots that couldn't be patched, so I had to get brand new tires. These tires the car had 9,000 miles. It was perfectly fine. But I had no way to prove that, like, for instance, right before I pulled in the lot, I didn't run over a nail, or right after leaving the lot, I didn't run over a nail. However, those chances are very fucking slim.
2 of them?
They're not, dude, like dealerships, insurance companies, HR, they're just not working for you like you think they are. No. They're usually working against you. I learned so much about hauling, like semi-truck guys that'll haul cars. I've started to do what they do when I bring my car someplace. Like, you notice how they take a bunch of pictures and they take video?
That's smart.
I've started to do that.
That's
like,
smart.
Just to have in my back pocket, just in case, because I've dropped cars off before and, like, I come back to them and there's, like, a ding. Like on this, I'm like, what the hell? Like, where did that come? Was that me? Was that not me? And yeah, dude, it has saved me a couple times before because, yeah, I mean, I've heard other stories.
That's
like
good
Steven's Lexus had the same thing where he had a broken suspension component or something like that, and they just wouldn't fix it because he was on aftermarket suspension. And Steven was like, well, yeah, it's on aftermarket suspension, but it came in not broke. It's leaving broke. You broke it when you removed it. They're like, well, we can't replace it because it's connected to an aftermarket part. It's like,
stupid.
If there's any tips, drop them below. Number 1, though, pictures and video anytime you're dropping off your car, including odometer, because that information on the photo that you take, you can actually swipe up. You can see when it was taken, where it was taken, all that sort of good stuff. So,
100%.
With that being said, we thank you guys for listening. MartiniWorks Podcast. We talked about a lot today. If you're looking for car parts, ModyourCar@MartiniWorks.com. Gels, anything you'd like to add?
Thanks for all the support lately. I mean, it's been awesome. We had the one podcast kind of blow up, which was really, really cool. So if this is like one of your first or second episodes, welcome. Thanks for checking it out.
Go back and listen to all the other ones.
Yeah, that's my tip of the day. Go listen to the podcast.
It's honestly, it's stayed relatively the same for the last 2 years. So if you enjoy this one, you're going to enjoy our first one too. That's a promise.
At least Alex stopped naming every episode a different season.
Yeah, that got chaotic.
Thank goodness.
We
figured that out.
Coming soon.